Okay, so today I sat down with my lymphatic drainage massage therapist, Abby Mailport. And so when I would go to my appointments with her, I am not one that just sits there and relax. Maybe it's like falling asleep and being relaxing and stuff like that. I'm like, tell me everything I need to know about how this works and how this makes us detox. And I'm always just picking her brain and wanting to learn. And so the last appointment that I had with her, I was like, I got to ask her to get on this podcast. So we finally made this happen. She's a very busy lady, but we finally made this happen. I'm so excited. So you guys can also learn the things that I just was like blown away. And I had no idea about when it comes to lymphatic drainage massage. Because I think people think that it's just like a massage. It's absolutely not. It's definitely for overall wellness and detoxing and all the things. And we get into that in this episode. But let me just tell you a little bit about Abby before we get into it. She actually had her bachelor's degree in human biology from UWGB. She just was so obsessed with this topic that she then went to school to get an associate's degree as a physical therapist assistant. And as working, and then you'll hear her explain this, but as she started doing that, she got very interested in the lymphedema and wanted to become a lymphedema therapist. Okay. And then she wanted to open up her own business, and we get into all that, but she's just so interested and obsessed with lymphatic drainage, the lymphatic system, and all the ways that it can help people. She helps so many people who have gone through surgeries. So these people that go through surgeries are so swollen and holding on to so much fluid. And now, you know, maybe not around a small town if you're from a small town, but now like in California and all these places, they actually recommend that immediately after surgery that you go and get lymphatic drainage massages to help speed up the healing process. And there's so many more things that lymphatic drainage is beneficial for your overall wellness and detoxing and all the things. So we get into all this. I ask her all the questions, and it's just very informative and helpful episode. And I just love her. She's so cool. And I think you're really, really going to love her too. All the information we talk about, she actually created a lymphatic drainage mitt, so you could do it from home, and she'll talk about that and how to use that. We go into it all today on this episode. So I hope you enjoy. And all the information also is, as always, in the show notes. Welcome to the Obsessed or Not Interested podcast. I am your host, Mindy Wender-Querio, and I'm a small town go-to girl next door who is obsessed with helping others see more for themselves so they can thrive in all areas of life. I love researching all the things like wellness, mindset, relationships, you name it. If I'm obsessed with it, I get hyper focused on it and I research the crap out of it, and then I share it with you. If those are things that you're also obsessed with, then keep listening and let's become new best friends. Okay, welcome to the podcast, Abby. How are you?
Great. How are you, Mindy? Thanks for having me.
Good. Yeah, you are a busy lady, so I'm so happy that you made time. Like, I'm literally so grateful that you made time to come on here, because I couldn't do this topic justice. So she is my lymphatic massage therapist. Okay. When I get lymphatic drainage massages, I go to her, and she's actually 2 hours away from me. Abby is 2 hours away from me, but I drive to her because we're going to get into why I drive all the way to her, because you want to go to somebody like Abby who specializes in this type of massage. But before we get into all that, because I couldn't do it justice, when I'm laying on her table and I'm like drilling her, because I'm like a curious human, I'm like, Abby, tell me this, tell me that. I'm just like, I have to have her on my podcast because I couldn't explain this to you guys. So I'm very, very excited to have Abby. So Abby is a certified lymphedema therapist, a licensed massage therapist, physical therapist assistant, and a personal trainer, correct?
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
Correct. Nope, that's all. Yep. That's enough, right?
Okay. Why? Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. And this is why I wanted Abby on, because she is certified in the lymphedema as a lymphedema therapist. So before we get in all that, why don't you just share with us, what is your backstory? How did you get involved in this?
So I always knew that I wanted to be in the medical field in some way, shape, or fashion. But I really got interested in lymphedema per se based on watching like TLC medical mystery shows growing up. You'd see these people with these like ginormous legs or arms, and like they often said in those shows that not a lot of people knew how to treat those kind of disorders. So I just thought that would be so cool to be one of those people that knew how to treat lymphedema. And so when I became a physical therapist assistant, I continued on to become a certified lymphedema therapist. And then as I practiced as a certified lymphedema therapist, my eyes were open to how manual lymphatic drainage can be used for such a wide variety of things and not just lymphedema. So I use manual lymphatic drainage for such a wide variety of clients that it keeps it so interesting, and my passion for it has just exploded.
That's awesome. So let's just get right into this then. Can you explain to me? Because I remember when everyone's like, you should get a lymphatic drainage massage and you should go to this person and this person.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked locally to me and there's a lot of people, but none of them were like specializing in this type of massage. So can you just explain to me what lymphatic drainage massage is and how it's different from like an other massage, like deep tissue or something? Sorry,
Yeah, absolutely. So manual lymphatic drainage was actually a technique that was designed in 1932 by the Vadders. So they created manual lymphatic drainage specifically for treating lymphedema. They also used it for like treating sinus infections and colds and flus and things like that too. But it was specifically designed for those couple of reasons. So the technique itself I use is the Vadder technique. And there's about 5 different schools of manual lymphatic drainage, but the whole concept is a skin stretching technique. So you're stretching the superficial lymphatics so that those valves open so that the fluid and waste can enter your lymphatic system. So it's a very gentle, light rhythmic technique, and there is some direction of flow. There's an order and a sequence that you should do to be the best maximal effect on the lymphatic system. So it is, I tell this to people all the time, it's really like apples to oranges to regular massage. Regular massage is stimulating the muscular system. Sometimes people can work on the fascia too, and sometimes I work on that with lymphatic drainage if there's fascial restriction. But general deep tissue therapeutic massage is working on them at a muscular layer level. Manual lymphatic drainage is skin deep. So you cannot create a lot of pressure. Otherwise you will actually squish those superficial lymphatics. So it's very, very rhythmic, there is a proper sequence and flow to it. Whereas Swedish or therapeutic massage, there's really no rules, you're just kind of working on the muscles however they need to be released.
Okay. And so the people that listen to this podcast, they're really into wellness. So what are some of the benefits that they can expect to receive from this? Like who would it be for?
Yeah. I like answering that question kind of with a explanation of the lymphatic system itself, because once I explain that, it kind of makes sense to people why you would want to stimulate the lymphatic system and keep it flowing. So your lymphatic system has 3 main functions in your body. The first one is fluid regulation and fluid balance. So your lymphatic system is responsible for 90% of the fluid regulation and balance in your body. So you can really work on water retention, swelling issues. That's why it's the gold standard treatment for lymphedema or any sort of swelling in the body. Simple water retention, I think I said, edema, inflammation, all of that is, if you stimulate the lymphatic system, you can reroute that fluid and get that suction vacuum effect to move that fluid where it should be in the body. So water regulation and balance, or fluid regulation and balance, that's the number 1 function of the lymphatic system. Number 2, your lymphatic system is your waste transport system. So I like to say, just like we poop, right? Our cells poop and they are dumping all that waste in between all of our cells. Your lymphatic system is the only system that uptakes all that waste, brings it to your lymph nodes. Your lymph nodes then decide what it's going to clean and recycle and what it's going to send on for elimination. So your lymphatic system is your garbage system. It is what's uptaking all the waste in your body and cleansing it. So think about all the cellular debris, all the crud crap and debris that's floating around our body, not only what we put in our bodies, but on our bodies. your lymphatic system is uptaking all of that waste. So if we did not have a functioning lymphatic system, we would actually pollute ourselves to the point of death in 48 hours. That's how important your lymphatic system is for cleansing our body and cleansing our cells of all the junk floating around. So that's pretty powerful, right? So that's the number 2 function of our lymphatic system. And the third main function of our lymphatic system is it is your immune system. So your lymphatic system is your immune system. It is what's circulating around the good cells, the white blood cells in our body, finding the foreign invaders, whether it's bacteria, viruses, pathogens, cancer cells. It finds those, flags them, brings them back to your lymph nodes, and then your body mounts its immune response. So again, stimulating your lymphatic system boosts your immune surveillance in your body. So you're just getting a boost in that immune system to find and fight any of the junk in our system. So it's a really important system in our body. We just don't really talk about it at all. So people can benefit from manual lymphatic drainage for a wide variety of reasons, and particularly health and wellness. Who wouldn't want a boosted immune system? Who wouldn't want that cellular detoxification and cleansing our body of all that junk floating around, right? So it's a no-brainer to me, right?
Yeah. Yes, to me too. That's why I actually wanted to come is for detox purposes and to get the junk moving and get out. I wasn't like I was really swelled up or anything like that.
Right.
I just did it for overall wellness.
Yes. And you don't have to be swollen because your lymphatic system has those other main functions in your body. So so I think sometimes people, misconception can be is that, oh, I just have to have swelling or lymphedema, and you really don't have to. And that's why I went from working in the therapy world as a physical therapist assistant to becoming a massage therapist and opening my own practice, because then I can help so many more people.
Right. That totally makes sense. What I was going to ask you is, okay, so it's detoxing. It's the things that you just said. What are some other benefits? Like if somebody was thinking, okay, I'm going to contact Abby if you're somewhere near Green Bay, Wisconsin area, or somewhere in your area, what are some of the benefits they'll receive from getting a lymphatic drainage massage?
So I always ask my new clients the next day how they feel after their session. So I've created kind of this anecdotal evidence. Now, obviously, textbooks will list off a ton of benefits. Like every single, like probably disease process that you can think of is in the lymphology textbook that lymphatic drainage can treat and help. But, I don't know about all that. But overall, majority of my clients, first of all, it gets rid of swelling, right? So any surgical swelling, any lymphatic swelling, any simple water retention, people notice an immediate difference or change in their swelling. So that immediately gets reduced. Also, people experience increased energy and mental clarity pretty quickly. Sometimes that can take a little bit longer. It just depends how much sludge you have in your system. But most people really do experience some increased energy, rejuvenation, and mental clarity that reduce brain fog. People feel lighter and just kind of that overall sense of being like cleansed, really. I've had some people who've had like some pretty cool results with like reduced headaches, helping with some like menstrual cramping and like PMS symptoms and things like that. Overall, it helps reduce pain as well. The rhythmic nature of manual lymphatic drainage and the way that it stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system also puts you kind of in this rest and digest state. So it gives you a very analgesic effect. So I have a lot of clients with fibromyalgia who really experience a lot of pain reduction and management of their symptoms with that. And then, like I said, it's immensely relaxing. So anybody who's in a heightened like nervous system state really benefits from that immense relaxation from manual lymphatic drainage compared to like a regular Swedish massage or therapeutic, which sometimes can be painful because this technique is very, very comfortable and relaxing. A lot of people actually fall asleep.
Yeah, I was just going to say I almost fell asleep. And a lot of the things that I experienced after going to you is I did just feel lighter, but I also, it relaxes you, but then I had more energy, but I didn't have more energy until the following day, not the day of. The day of, I felt like, I don't know how I felt, like maybe more tired. Is that normal?
That is completely normal because when you're stimulating the lymphatic system, it actually increases its speed and then it slowly goes back down to baseline over 2 days. So you're continuing to drain and cleanse for 2 days. So sometimes
Yeah.
people have those delayed effects because they're tired in the beginning because your body's working so hard for you. And then
Mm-hmm.
slowly, as that starts going back to baseline, that's when you're feeling the improved symptoms.
Yeah, that makes total sense because that's exactly how I felt. It was that one day after, because I usually do the massage with you like midday.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was just like, oh, kind of sluggish. But the next day, I woke up feeling refreshed,
Mm-hmm.
alert, like I could focus better. And I have ADHD. So that, like, I noticed that,
Sure.
like brain fog was lifted. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. I wish I could do this once a week.
Right?
So, yeah. So actually that brings me into another question that I'm just curious if somebody was able to and could possibly do a massage with you, let's just say as
Mm-hmm.
much as they want, what would you recommend?
Well, it really depends on what's going on, right? Because so the frequency is really dictated by like the symptoms, So, and because I see such a wide variety of clients, it really depends. Someone who has swelling issues, you have to see a little bit more frequently and then taper off. Someone who is just coming for cellular detox, I think if they've never done it before, maybe a few more sessions in the beginning and then spacing out. I would say 75% of my clients end up being monthly clients because they feel the benefits of it and they enjoy it so much.
Right.
The other thing that I want to mention is even if you don't have like a certified lymphedema therapist or someone who specializes in manual lymphatic drainage in your area, like I did develop a tool so people can learn how to do manual lymphatic drainage themselves too. So that's always something that we can attach to your podcast too. If you're ever interested in learning how to do it on yourself, I have a tool for people for that because I want people to be able to experience manual lymphatic drainage even if you don't have access to it.
Right. And actually, when I was seeing Abby, she actually recommended that for me since I
Mm-hmm.
did live 2 hours away. So I have this, it's a mitt. What is the name
Yep.
of it though?
The lymph motion mitt.
Okay. And then
The lymph
is it
motion mitt.
fluidmotion.com?
Yeah, my website is fluidmotion.com and it's linked right on there as well. But I do have a separate website for the mitt, which is lymph-motion.com.
Okay.
And I tell people it's not like you have to do a full 60-minute drainage of themselves with, if you're doing it for yourself. Say you're just struggling with some mental clarity issues or brain fog, do the facial and scalp drainage. That will take
Yeah.
you 15, 20 minutes, or maybe you have some water retention in your ankles and you want to quickly, go over just your legs. Like the instructional videos break it up into every segment of the body so that people can do it for themselves on a regular basis too.
Yeah. And that's what I loved about it too, because it comes with, when you buy the mitt, it comes with the video tutorials of exactly what to do, because you hear about all these things that you can do, but you kind of don't know, and you have to know, right? Because of the
Right.
motion you have to go. Yeah. So you can't just guess on this stuff. I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I want to get back to the episode just as bad as you. But I have to tell you that the journal that I'm always talking to you guys about and talking about on this podcast, the Hyper Focus Journal, is 30% off right now. We are having a spring sale, so I needed to just jump on real quick, interrupt this episode because I don't want you to miss it because I love you and we're friends. So it's 30% off only for 2 weeks. So head over to hyperfocusmentor.com and use the code HYPER30 to get 30% off. Again, that's HYPER30, and you're going to get 30% off your Hyper Focus Journal for the next 2 weeks. And if I were you, I would get a couple because it's a 90-day journal reminder. So they're on sale. Stock up. That's what I would do. And you're welcome. Okay. Now back to the episode.
Right.
So actually, could you talk about that, like the motion that you have to go and why that's so important?
Yeah, so I use the Dr. Botter technique, which is a stationary circle or a skin stretch. And so the reason that's important is everywhere that we have skin, we have superficial lymphatic collectors in the top layer of our skin. Those little collectors have these like overlapping valves, one-way valves. And those valves have little anchoring filaments to the skin. So when you stretch the skin, those valves open. And then when you relax that stretch, they close. So all throughout that skin stretching manual lymphatic drainage, you're opening and closing your superficial lymphatics. And because of the pressure differentials in science, the fluid and waste want to enter your lymphatic system. And then the sequence and direction that you do is what pushes it towards those closest lymph node bundles. So you have to stretch the skin. You have to direct that skin towards the lymph nodes that are in the closest region. And then you have to kind of do this clear the pathway and then flow it back. So if you start, like, let's say if you're draining your arm, if you start at your fingers, but you don't do any work up by the armpit or the upper arm, it's very likely that nothing in your fingers is going to go anywhere because you haven't cleared that path first. So you need this slow rhythmic skin stretch to open those superficial lymphatics.
Okay. So let me just ask you this. So you're saying before you start with the motion of, like, they always say, like, start at the bottom of your legs and work your way up
Yeah.
slowly. So I just think of it as like, okay, I'm moving everything around. I'm building, I'm pulling it up, 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 up till I find a dumpster. Is
Yeah.
that
I mean,
basically?
that's a great way to think of it. I think of it more like digging a drainage ditch. So you're
Okay.
starting at the ditch, right? So like say your arm, for example, you want to start at the armpit because that's where your lymph nodes are. That's where you need to direct the flow. But if there's garbage on the way down to the fingers, you got to clear that first, right? So you
Yeah.
have to clear proximal or closest first, work your way down so that you're clearing that path and then push the
Go
stuff
up.
back up.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
so you start, and did you, I can't remember right now, but did you say you have to, like, put pressure, like, inside your armpit?
Yeah,
Or
so
would yeah.
anywhere that you have major lymph node bundles, you prepare those lymph nodes first. So,
Okay.
and that's a little bit deeper pressure. That's a little bit of a firmer massage because lymph nodes are deep in the tissues, right? And so you can't just gently massage those. You have to get a little bit of a firmer pressure to massage and milk those lymph nodes. So, lymph node bundles are in our head and neck, our abdomen, our armpits, our groin, top of our hip region, and behind our knee. Those are the major clusters of lymph nodes in your body. So you always want to prepare those first before you
Right.
start sort of limb or segment of the body.
Okay, so with this mitt, so that's what I love about that, is that you have the training
Mm-hmm.
videos that come with it, because I'm such a visual learner. If I had
Yeah.
to read all this and be like, oh, I need to see a picture of somebody's body to show me
Right.
exactly what to do. And it's very, like you said, it doesn't have to take a full 60 minutes. I do it
No.
before I get in the shower or sometimes before bed. And then all
Mm-hmm.
you do is I just put my mitt underwater, because sometimes, like, dry skin or, like,
Yeah.
fuzz off my blanket will get on it, and I
Yes.
just rinse it off, and then it's good to go for the next
Mm-hmm.
time. So I
Absolutely.
freaking love that thing. So can you just, since we're on the mitt topic, and by the way, anyone who wants to follow Abby, go to her website, look up the mitt. All of this is in the show notes. So you can actually go right to the show notes right now and you can see that. So, and then at the end of this episode, we'll repeat the websites and stuff like that. But so what is the difference between, because I hear everyone always talking about a dry brush. So what
Mm-hmm.
is the dry brush versus the mitt?
So So the whole reason that I invented the mitt is really because so many people ask me about dry brushing, and I mean, opinion alert, right? Everyone has their opinion. I truly do not believe that dry brushing does anything for your lymphatic system. I think dry brushing is one of those ancient Ayurvedic medicines that people have used for centuries and it has not evolved, right? Science evolves and we have to evolve. Dry brushing has never evolved. If you look at the sequence, like you said, if you look at the sequence, you start at your fingers or your toes and you drag that brush up your skin. And there's no skin stretch to it. Like nothing is stretching the skin. You just have this hard bristled brush that frankly hurts and scratches you, and you drag it across your skin. So if people truly are stuck on doing dry brushing, I think it's a great skin exfoliant. But if they really want to do, if they want to do dry brushing, I teach them to flick the brush across their skin and then to start proximal and work their way out. Do like if anybody does dry brushing, maybe just pay attention to your skin when you do it next time. And I bet you'll see that your skin really isn't getting a good skin stretch. Whereas the mitt, I'm teaching you how to do that stationary circle or that skin stretch to actually move the skin so that the valves of the superficial lymphatic system open. So if you don't stretch that skin and get that skin moving, it's what are you doing? It's kind of a waste of time, in my opinion.
Yeah, once you use the mitt and once you see the mitt, it's like, I think it's silicone, right? Is it
It's a
silicone?
medical grade silicone, so it's just very tacky, and there's nothing
Yeah.
special or magical about the mitt itself. It just kind of makes the technique dummy proof in a sense, right? Because when I
Yes.
teach people how to do self manual lymphatic drainage, they often just drag or brush their skin. So again, if you're just dragging your hand across the skin, you're not getting a good skin stretch. So if you're not trained like I am, because I just use my hands, if you're not trained like I am, you're probably going to rush, not pay attention to what you're doing, and then what's the point of spending that time doing something that's not effective, right? So the mitt just
100%.
makes it kind of dummy proof so that you get a good skin stretch because it is so tacky. So it anchors right onto the skin, and then your skin gets a good stretch, and then you move it and you stretch and you move it. So it really does a great job of getting that skin stretch.
Yeah, and actually, guys, if you go to Obsessed or Not Interested on Instagram, I'll do a story kind of showing it. So if you guys want to see it, I'll make sure I do the story when this episode airs. But yeah, when you do it, the silicone kind of sticks to your skin, and so you'll see when I show the video. It's just,
Mhm.
I love it. It's a great tool. I do still dry brush because guess what? I'm just like, you know what? I'll cover all my bases. And by the way, like you said, I have very soft skin.
Yeah, that's a great skin exfoliant.
It really is. And then I was doing it for so long before I had met you and learned
Mhm.
all of this. So now it's just kind of habit. I don't do it as much as I used to because I'm use that time to do my mitt. And
Sure.
actually I have my husband do the mitt on me too sometimes because it's just easier, when we're just
Yeah,
sitting there watching
absolutely.
TV. Yeah. So, okay, well, I'm glad that you cleared that up. The other thing I had to ask you about is, oh, let's talk about like skincare. So you see everybody online. So the dry brushing you also see everybody online, me and myself included, where they're doing the facial massages, where they're doing the gua sha and they're
Mhm.
going up, and that's like lymphatic drainage to your face. What can you tell us about what we're doing wrong or right? And what is your take on that?
So I've seen a lot of people using the gua sha or the facial rollers and things on social media. I think I haven't spent a ton of time looking at them because some of them I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, and scroll right past them. But as long as you start midline for facial drainage, you always want to start midline and then squeegee out towards the
Okay.
base of the ear or the tragus of the ear and then down to the neck. But like again, I would say you have to prepare the lymphatic system first by massaging the base of the neck and massaging the side of the neck to prepare those lymph nodes. So if I wanted to do it the best way, I would be preparing the neck and the side of the neck, squeezing those lymph nodes, and then working on that facial roller or the gua sha or things like that. Now, gua sha tools and facial rollers, they're not really using like manual lymphatic drainage. They're not stretching the skin. They're using more of a squeegee, right? So they are not really encouraging the fluid to go into your lymphatic system. It's kind of more of a squeegee effect. So it can move some of that free floating fluid and waste through the tissues. But if you stimulate the side of the neck and the base of the neck, you can encourage that junk to go into the lymphatic system that way. But
Okay.
if you're
So
just
if you were
changing it around and not preparing, I would tend to say that you're probably still just moving that stuff around and not really sending it anywhere.
Yeah, because every time I'm doing it, I always think to myself, I'm doing this wrong. I didn't start. So when you say prepping that would be like the collarbone, right?
Yep,
The
right behind the
collarbone
collarbone. Yep, and then the
and
side of
just
the neck. We've
pressure.
got lots of lymph nodes in the side of your neck. Lymph nodes themselves don't have like a muscular unit. They don't have something pumping them. So they really rely on manual stimulation, pressure changes, muscular contraction in the surrounding areas to pump them. So if someone didn't want to massage themselves, they could engage their muscles by just doing like simple yeses and nos, to get those muscles pumping. But self massage really is the best, most targeted way to stimulate those lymph nodes themselves.
Okay. Okay, well that's good to know. And then what tool would you, if you were going to do it? Like, do you just think when you do it on yourself, do you just use your hands or do you use the mitt?
Yeah. I just use my hands. The mitt can kind of actually be too bulky for the face just because most of
Yeah.
us don't have that much surface area on our face. So when I teach how to do manual lymphatic drainage on the face with the mitt, it's actually with your hands anyways. So you can
Okay.
just really use like the two fingers of two finger pads of each hand and just do that Vater stationary circle, that skin stretch, and work your way to the chin and then back up towards the ear. So the you can use those other tools and they're quick and easy, but you have to at least prepare the lymphatic system. If you truly want that junk to go into your lymphatic system and be moved out, then truly doing a skin stretching manual lymphatic drainage is the best. So think of someone with like acne, for example. Like acne is impurities in the skin. So if you're just squeegeeing that, you're just moving that junk around, right? You want that stuff, those impurities to actually get into the lymphatic system so they can be processed and eliminated. So I wouldn't do any sort of gua sha or like facial rolling with acne or anything that where you want to work on skin clarity. You'd want to do actually true manual lymphatic drainage so that you're processing all that garbage through the lymphatic system.
Right. That makes total sense. Another thing I was going to ask you, just because I keep writing things down as you talk, because I keep getting questions. I'm like, I need to know this, is when you are sick or you first start getting the symptoms of like,
Mhm.
oh, I feel like I might get the flu or I feel like I'm going to get the cold. Is that a good time to get a lymphatic drainage massage?
That is certainly a good time because you want to stimulate. Well, first of all, if you're already starting to feel yourself getting sick, your lymphatic system is probably already ramped up, right? Because when people feel themselves getting sick, sometimes they're feeling some swollen lymph nodes or some body aches where things are probably a little bit more fluid, a lot more fluid is circulating around in the body. So your lymphatic system's probably already working a little bit harder, but you can do manual lymphatic drainage to speed up the process. It's not going to like it depends what the sickness is. For example, like someone with strep throat, for example, that's usually a virus. Like it's lymphatic drainage isn't going to cure that, right? It's just going to help your
Mhm.
body and support your body to heal faster and to process that through your system faster. But it's not going to necessarily, that's not what's going to eradicate the strep throat. You're just allowing your body, or supporting your body to get all the good cells in and the bad cells out, if that
Okay.
makes sense. So you're
Yeah.
just supporting your immune system. It's not like you're not necessarily going to get sick. You might still obviously get sick because you have something floating around in your system. You're just supporting your body to get rid of that and treat that faster.
Process it faster. Okay.
Yeah,
That makes sense too.
exactly right. So like I've had
Oh,
some people who probably had like a bacteria and virus already floating around in your system, right? And then when you do manual lymphatic drainage, you move that to the lymph node faster, and then your body mounts that immune response. So some people are like, man, I didn't think that I was sick, but I have this little cold now. And it's like, well, you probably already had that in your system. And then we just are getting rid of it faster. So you probably would have gotten sick anyways, but it just came
right.
on a little bit faster because now we moved it to your lymphatic system to get it out of your system.
Well, yeah, that actually is something that I was thinking about asking you is what is stuff to do post massage, like we're talking about if you're sick or
Mhm.
if you start,
Mhm.
what is important things that people can do post massage to make sure it's everything's moving?
So the best things that I tell people right away after manual lymphatic drainage sessions are drink lots of water. So your lymphatic system relies on that water to flush everything throughout your system first. So especially the 2 days following manual lymphatic drainage, whether you're come to me or doing it on yourself, you need to drink lots of water. Number 2, moving your body for about 10 minutes after stimulating your lymphatic system, because that muscular contraction helps propel that fluid and waste deeper and faster into your process through your lymphatic system. So moving your body. I know some people, and like I'm not a like nutritionist, or I can't give advice on supplements or things like that, but like there are definitely like supplements and things out there and some electrolytes that we should probably all be doing to just keep our immune system a little bit more sharp and intact too. So I would want someone to continue with any of those regimens as well.
Yeah, what I did after is obviously I drank tons of water and I put lemon in it and electrolytes, and I was on my walking pad and I was doing the things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that people online will say, see, I'm like trying to pick your brain here because I'm like, should I do this, Abby, or should I not?
Yes.
But I know you and I have talked about this, cold showers or cold plunges.
Mm-hmm.
What can you tell me about this?
I think cold plunges work in a different way. Like it's not necessarily stimulating your lymphatic system. Cold in general, it can help reduce overall inflammation in your body, right? So if you reduce inflammation in your body, then do you in turn eventually help support your lymphatic system because there's less junk that it needs to clear. So I think in a long way, cold plunges and cold will reduce inflammation, therefore helping your lymphatic system. But do they directly like reduce fluid and things like that? There's some new research. Like we used to always say when someone rolled their ankle, we would do RICE, right? Rest, ice, compression, elevation, because that was what we did for acute injuries. Now new studies show that we should do MICE, MCE, movement, compression, and elevation. And we took the ice right out of like acute injuries. And the reason for that is because when you have cold on something like that, you actually vasoconstrict all the vessels. So you're actually shutting down the blood flow and circulation to the area, which actually can delay healing because you're preventing the good stuff from getting to the area too. But as soon as you take cold off, those vessels, those blood vessels and lymphatic vessels, they dilate and everything just comes flooding back. So I don't know that cold does a lot for swelling, but I think it will help with inflammation, which I know that's probably confusing because people think swelling and inflammation are the same, and they do get used interchangeably sometimes, but there's definitely a difference between cellular inflammation, right, and swelling. But we sometimes use those words like interchangeably. So cold can help with cellular inflammation, but not necessarily for swelling and edema. Does that help clarify that? Okay.
Yeah, totally. Totally helps. Cause I did, you see everyone saying this stuff like do the dry brushing, do the this, do the that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and another thing is do the rebounding like on a trampoline.
Yep.
Is that something that actually helps the lymphatic system?
So rebounding and vibration plates, for example, I do actually think those can stimulate the lymphatic system because if you think about rebounding and jumping, when you're jumping, what's happening? Your skin is stretching, right? So when you are bouncing, and you can even get that effect just from sitting here jiggling, bouncing up and down, you can look at your skin and you can see it stretching. So vibration plates and rebounding can stimulate your superficial lymphatics to open and close, but you can't just do that, right? You also have to be opening up the central lymphatics, opening up the lymph nodes in the armpit and the inguinals and the abdomen so that when you're stimulating those superficial lymphatic valves to open and close, then you're giving that fluid and waste someplace to go.
Yeah, this makes sense. Okay, I think that's all the things that I had about like that were just like, are these true or false?
Sure.
But what are some other misconceptions that people might have that they either saw online or just a different massage therapist may have said? What are some common misconceptions people have about lymphatic drainage?
I think some other misconceptions too. First of all, I think a lot of people just don't know what it is. So then they think like, okay, so what are you draining, right? Like I'm not putting a needle in you and draining out this fluid. Like that's, that's not how manual lymphatic drainage works. I also think that if you go to like just a massage therapist who just went to massage school, like no other continuing education, they will say that they can do lymphatic massage, which is not the same as manual lymphatic drainage. So that's something people should kind of, when they're doing their research to try and find someone, most massage therapists can market and say they do lymphatic massage, but they're just doing these stroking effleurage strokes, just kind of like the dry brushing. They're just stroking. They're not doing any skin stretching. They should be stimulating some lymph nodes. So at base minimum, people are getting some lymph node stimulation, but they're not directly stimulating those superficial lymphatics in the system. So that's sometimes a misconception when people come to me and they're like, this is not what I had before. And I'm like, then I have to explain that's because I'm actually doing manual lymphatic drainage, even though I market it as lymphatic massage. So I'm part of the problem, right? I'm part of the confusion. But manual lymphatic drainage does not always sound appealing. Like I said, what are you draining? Like, what are you going to drain out of me? The other misconception, I think, and again, I can't really say much about like supplements and things, but people always ask me about, oh, I'm taking these lymph drops or I'm taking this like lymph tea. And like, I sometimes question, like, look at the ingredients on these things, like what is in them, like that would really truly be stimulating the lymphatic system. Like there are some things like selenium is supposed to stimulate the lymphatic system. Citrus is supposed to stimulate the lymphatic system. But when you look at some of these things like lymph drops and lymph teas and stuff, I would encourage people to look at the ingredients and actually look them up and see what they actually are.
Yeah.
Because I
People
don't know if they
market
truly do
things.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, people market these things just because it's like a hot topic or people
Yeah, it's a
are
fad.
into
It's a
it.
money maker. Mm-hmm.
Fad. Yep.
Yep.
Totally. So that's why I'm so happy that you took the time to come on today, because we are all obsessed. Everyone who listens to this, we're obsessed with wellness and detoxing and just
Yeah.
feeling better. And
Right.
this is a perfect way to do it, is find, like if you're local or in the Green Bay, Wisconsin area, find Abby. Go to the websites we're going to give you in a second to find her,
Yep.
or find somebody in your own area based off of the information Abby gave you today. Because again, a lot of people are going to market in a certain way that might not, they might just be leading you astray. And it's, yeah. So just now, because I think, like you said, that the problem is that we don't really know, some of us don't really know what it is. And now people got the information and they can be educated while they look for somebody. And especially the mitt that you can do at home in between. If you're only going once a month, I shouldn't say only, but if you're going once a month or once a quarter or however often you can use this mitt in between, which is so, so key. How often should somebody use the mitt, by the way?
Well, again, it depends on what they're using it for, right? So like if someone has swelling in their ankles, you would probably want to use it and I don't think people need to stimulate their lymphatic system every day. So I'm just going to back up there for a second. I don't think you necessarily have to do it every single day, because once you stimulate your lymphatic system, it's revved up for 48 hours. So if you're just doing it for cellular detox and health and wellness, and you don't have any known deficit to your lymphatic system, there's really no reason why you would have to do it any more than 2-3 days, 3 days a week. If you need that. I always tell people, like, do it, see how long your symptoms or whatever you're using it for, how long they stay away for, and then do it again. So it's not necessarily that it has to be done so regimented. Now, if someone has a known destruction to their lymphatic system, like lymphedema, lipedema, chronic venous insufficiency, they have to do it more frequently and probably every day until that swelling starts resolving, because they have a known deficit. Something is wrong that their lymphatic system can't keep up with demand. Or if you have a surgery and you're in this like overload problem, right? Or maybe if we're talking health and wellness, maybe you had a weekend where you didn't eat the best, or you did all the things, right? Maybe you
Yeah.
need to bulk that up a little bit right afterwards just to cleanse everything out of your system a little bit quicker. But so I think it's very fluid. I don't think it's something that you necessarily have to do every single day. At the very most, if there's no known lymphatic dysfunction, every third day.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. And also what I took away from that, it's good for a hangover.
Yes.
Now I know. Okay, so one last question I like to ask every guest that comes on is, what is something that you're obsessed with and what is something that you're not interested in when it comes to lymphatic drainage?
I think for me, my passion and the obsession for manual lymphatic drainage is just knowing all the functions of the lymphatic system and just knowing how applicable it is to everything.
Mhm.
Like, it is just so applicable to everything in our bodies. Like, it's just so cool. So you can use it for so many different things. So it's so versatile and so applicable. So I'm just so obsessed with that. Like I said, if you look at the lymphology textbook of applications and indications for manual lymphatic drainage, everything will be on there, So it can really be truly be used for so many things. And the things that, and I think I kind of already hit on this, the things that I could live without are the dry brushing and all the supplements and all the things that are marketed that I'm just like, think about it. Skin stretching. You need to stretch your skin. Like, you need to stimulate the lymph nodes. Like, just go back to basics. The basics of manual lymphatic drainage: stretch the skin, stimulate the lymph nodes. If you're not doing those things, is it stimulating your lymphatic system? So just ask
Right.
yourself those.
It's kind of common sense. Like, everyone who I interview on this podcast, that when they're talking, I'm like, why do we overcomplicate things? But this is a little deeper, this topic. So I love how you broke it down today. So it's like we can digest it. We can
A little more
understand it. And
palatable.
yes, for sure. And I swear, when you're talking, it's like you can just feel, I love talking to people like you because I can just feel your passion. Like, this is truly what you were meant to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, this is your purpose.
Yeah,
And I
agree.
love that. And that's why I really trust everything you say, because I know that you do your research and you're passionate about this and you know your shit,
Yeah.
'Cause
Well,
you're
thank you.
obsessed.
I mean, I love learning about it. I go to a ton of continuing education courses. Like, and I think I have a little bit more of a like medical spin on it than, just the like fluffy stuff. So sometimes I think maybe poo things fast, but I need to know why, right? I have such a science brain. You have to tell me why something works. And if you can't tell me why something works, then I don't know. I don't think that it's maybe worth the time.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that. So, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on here. But
Yes.
before I let you go, because I know you're a busy lady, but I would love for you to tell everybody where they can follow you, what your websites are again. Just share all that.
Absolutely. So my website for the manual lymphatic drainage sessions is fluidmotionmassage.com. I am, like, right now, you'll see on my website when you go there that I'm super swamped. I'm super busy. Just send me a text or email. Let me know that you heard about me on Mindy's podcast. And I do book out about 3 months in advance, but we'll get you on the calendar. My mitt, so the lymph motion mitt, is at lymph dash, so the little dash sign, motion.com. But that is also tagged on my fluid motion massage website. And then I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, although, guys, I'm not really active because I don't have to be. So I don't do much on
You're
there.
busy.
I'm busy. Yeah.
What is your Instagram, though, just in case anyone wants to follow
Oh,
you?
that's a really great question. I think it's just Fluid Motion Massage LLC.
I think it is too, because I follow you on there. I remember.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Abby. This was so informative, so helpful. You guys, if you guys want to work with her or get the mitt, the websites and everything is going to be in the show notes. If you didn't catch that because you were driving, just go to the show notes and you can just click it there. And yeah, just thank you so much. This was so helpful.
Yeah, I'm happy to be a resource. There's not a ton of people who are advanced in this stuff, so I'm happy to be a resource.
100%. We're all just shiny objects scrolling Instagram to the next ad of what to buy.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you
All
so
right.
much, Abby. Seriously, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Obsessed or Not Interested podcast. I love connecting with you on social media. So if you guys want, please shoot me a DM at either our podcast Instagram, which is at Obsessed or Not Interested, or even my personal Instagram, which is at Mindy Wender. I check them both, so either is fine. Oh, and truly, if this has helped you even 1%, if you could do me a huge solid and leave me a rating and review, that would mean the world to me. When you guys do that, here's why I really love it. It's because it helps the podcast be able to reach more women who want and need this. So truly, that is like the best compliment you could ever give me, is just leaving ratings and reviews for this podcast. Anything that I talked about in today's episode, any links or resources, you will find that in the show notes. Thank you for listening to today. Can't wait to chat more in the DMs, and don't forget to tune in next Tuesday.